When it all ended on the 29th of June 2024, it would have been easy to assume that the next time South Africa are at a World Cup, we'll be talking scars. But a lot can happen in a year and a half. Since then, they do have an ICC title behind them. They have a statement series win in India behind them. And now South Africa come reignited to continue their bid to get a white ball crown. They start against Canada at the venue where they're hoping to be in just under a month from now. Ahmedabad will host a men's T20 World Cup game for the first time, and that is where we kick proceedings off on day 3 of this World Cup on ESPN Chicken for Timeout, where we're delighted to have the company for the first time this World Cup, and for the first time after a few World Cups, of Aakash Chopra. Welcome back, Aakash.
Thank you so much, Yash.
In the recent past, though, I have had the pleasure of doing a lot of shows with you, but this is a privilege for me because for the first time I happen to be doing a live show with our dear old friend, Gaurav Sundararaman.
Hello, I know. It's always been an honor. This is the first time you're doing it now, and I've been seeing you hosting for the last 2 years from outside. So you're doing a fabulous job.
Don't feel the pressure, Yash.
I am.
Great GS is in the house.
Yes, I'm feeling the heat, but it's the easier job for me. We just ask the questions here. We have, of course, had a couple of matches. We've seen Italy make their World Cup debut earlier today. They lost to Scotland. Zimbabwe versus Oman followed later, a win for Zimbabwe. We'll come to all of that a little later. But Aakash, as we welcome you, South Africa, they are in the group of death.
Correct.
There's very little room for error because after this, you play Afghanistan, you play New Zealand back to back. But this game is an unknown for them.
It is an unknown for them, but for a team of South Africa's caliber, this should not worry them too much. I mean, you play to your potentials. Half the time you keep telling yourself that if you bring your A game to the park, that should be enough. Yes, you may want to plan and strategize with regards to what the opposition has to offer, but more or less you want to focus on your strengths. And this is an opportunity. In fact, South Africa should see it as an opportunity to, if there are any chinks in the armor, you want to really paper over the cracks, this is your opportunity because, as you rightly mentioned, there is no time for slipping up post this game. So 2 big games to follow. I think yes, don't rule out any team. There is a possible upset somewhere in this World Cup already, which will happen at some stage. But South Africa must feel confident that this is not the night where upset is likely to happen.
As big as the heartbreak was in 2024, coming that close to a title, how much of all of that weight has lifted with them having won the World Test Championship and also that India series win last year?
I mean, it's difficult to say. See, as a nation, they were carrying a stigma with regards to ICC events. A lot of things used to unfold in a fashion that didn't suit them, whether it's the DLS and whatever else. I mean, things did not go their way, or they were so close yet so far, even though the 2 quality outcomes you mentioned, they came in a very different format. The World Test Championship, of course, that was a phenomenal test match at Lord's, beats Australia in that game, run chase in the 4th innings, then coming into India and whitewashing India in a test series. Once again, a great achievement, but these are different formats, and we've seen how different teams can actually react in different formats. But the big thing is, again, we are not in their dressing room, we are not privy to how they feel, but the stigma is at least the monkeys off the back that they have an ICC title now, and actually since not being able to score 30 of 30 balls on that day game it was in Barbados.
Right. When a team like South Africa, and I want to explore the role of the analyst when it comes to games like these, because unlike the other teams that you play through the year, this is a team for which you don't have that much data, not that much video evidence. How do analysts prepare for a game like this?
So it's a good question, but these days, trust me, even like you have something at least for most of these players. At least you'll have all of them play qualifiers, they play their ODI games. You don't have to see T20 games to actually prepare. But the funny thing is, like for such games, if you don't have information, there's one common rule for fast bowlers: just bowl it up here or bowl it up here. That's it. So that's a common standard practice they use. So if there's not much of plans and there's not much of data, they know that these guys don't play extra pace. They've not played 140 plus. They don't play the bouncers well. These are some common traits which generally bowlers back themselves to do. So that's more or less of it. But ideally, you have something to play with. It won't be as elaborate as other teams, and they'll focus more on their strengths than the opposition weakness.
And these are also those kind of games where you don't play the format.
Correct.
See, generally when you play T20 cricket, you tend to, as a bowler, of course, try to hit lengths that are ideal for a T20 game. But when you're playing a team like Canada, or when India played against the USA, nobody was actually bowling the T20 lengths. They actually bowled proper ODI test match line length, and results will follow if you're disciplined enough, because let's be fair, you have fair amount of skill and experience at this level.
Right. So the point you make makes me wonder if that makes Anrik Nokia a certainty with if you're looking for pacers who bowl right up there. We'll find out whether Nokia is playing and what the makeup of South Africa's first lineup for this World Cup is in just a bit. Can confirm for the time being that Canada won the toss and they will bowl first. I've seen a lot of score alerts in the first few days of this World Cup. Lots of people talking up the chances of a 300. Canada electing to bowl first. Ahmedabad, which is a very run-friendly venue in the last couple of years. What do you make of that?
Oh, well, South Africa, if they play to their potential, I'm not going to go down the route of a 300 alert, but it should be a high-scoring game. If there is nothing in the surface and it is actually a flat pitch, a smallish ground, you should be looking in excess of 200 runs if you bat properly. So South Africa will have to set a benchmark for themselves that if they get a decent start, if they can maximize the power play, if you don't lose the wickets, then you need to really drive home the advantage, because the only difference between a top rank team and a team that is an associate nation doesn't get that much of exposure is the fact that they're not able to sustain that pressure for an extended period of time. And for them, in fact, 20 overs seems too long. So 50 over is in a lifetime. So if you can actually just push them till the 15th over mark, where you're actually almost slightly ahead in the game, last 5 overs you can actually make the killing. So South Africa, they should be looking to score 200 plus, provided it's a good surface, and 2, they get a decent start.
Historically, I think more upsets happen when the lesser ranked team bowls first. If you look at the history of upsets in white ball events, does that explain Canada's decision at the toss?
Actually, the chance of Canada winning is higher if they bat first. Is that what? That's what I feel like. With respect to most lower ranked teams, I think they have a chance to defend scores. But here, I think too much of it is done in because of dew. Most of the decisions have been taken because of dew. I think in Ahmedabad, like Aakash said, it's a very high scoring venue. In fact, it's a 6-hitting ground. A lot of people don't realize it, maybe because of the they look at the capacity and they kind of get confused. When you're actually there, the boundaries are not as long as what people might perceive it. So it is a high scoring ground. There are a couple of wickets there, the red and black. We don't know which one they're playing in, but one of the wickets is extremely batting friendly, and I won't be surprised if South Africa can really try to test their batting skills today and make sure that they try to achieve above par.
Yeah, and the trend for Ahmedabad points to exactly that. If we look at all the Indian venues at this World Cup, only Delhi has a higher scoring rate in the last couple of years, or in the last 18 months, 9.4, and with, what is it, an average first innings total of 207 in the last 10 T20s in Ahmedabad. Dew is a big factor. That is something Dilpreet Bajwa has said at the toss, that we might have wanted to bat first, but there's a lot of dew, and that's why we chose to bowl first. And when we take a look at some of the more details of just how things pan out at the Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad, you will see that pace and spin, GS, take us through this. While the numbers are very similar, there's a big skew in the usage. Nearly 3/4 of the overs in the last 10 night matches in Ahmedabad bowled by pace, which points to the dew.
So I think it's spot on, because one of the big aspects of Ahmedabad is the new ball bowling with the fast bowling. It swings, it seams, and I think a standard strategy in Ahmedabad, especially in night games, is to play one spinner and try to play 3 quicks and have maybe a part-time spinner and a 4th pacer to go. That's the combination usually people go in night games, because it does a lot on the lights. Yeah, it does a lot. And we saw Mohammad Shami, I think one of his best years were with Gujarat in Ahmedabad. So that's why I think likes of Marco Jansen and KG Rabada are going to enjoy these conditions. The bounce is true, bounce is very good. The red soil wicket, the bounce comes very well to the bat, which is why again it's high scoring. It's one of those wickets like Wankhede, but I think that's why people don't trust bowling spinners, especially finger spinners. I don't think they have a chance here.
No, he's absolutely right actually. Surprisingly, last IPL the ball didn't do as much under lights. So it was actually flat in both parts of the T20 game. Generally, we felt that under lights the ball is going to do a lot more. Dew, yes, makes batting a lot easier, but the new ball can actually do significant damage. That also was not the case in the last IPL. So yes, it is a good batting friendly venue. Black soil, red soil, we'll get to know. We also want to actually have a look at the teams where South Africa has gone, who's playing, who's not, because I mean there are certain question marks, late entrants to the squad as well. So do we have the team?
Yeah, there is some intrigue. We will have the team up shortly. All right, in fact, we can go to the South Africa playing 11. One of the few questions was who's the finisher, Tristan Stubbs or Jason Smith? It is Tristan Stubbs. The other bit was the bowling composition, and GS, the way they have gone is Rabada and Gidi, Janssen, no room for Anrik Nokia. They prefer the all-round skills of Corbin Bosch.
I think that's I think that batting at 8 always helps. I felt like even in this, Marco Jansen at 7 is okay, but ideally you want some backup after that. We saw that in the final as well in Barbados. As soon as Marco Jansen got out, there was a big slump. I think they want to cover that. And the other thing about Corbin Bosch, he's actually improved as a death bowler. He bowls around the wicket, he comes and bowls wide Yorkers, and that's something which they're trying to kind of nail him as a death specialist with Lungi, and they would like to use Marco up front and KG more in the middle and a little bit in the power play, because KG's death record is not as great as what a lot of people perceive it to be. So I think this is a good combination. It gives some cushion with the for the batting, and I like the fact that they've gone with Kesh over George Linda, even though I rate George Linda very highly, especially in India and his batting. If they didn't play Bosch, they could have played Linde and played Noke instead of Maharaj. So that would be the kind of swap I would ideally do. I think they've started the tournament like this. As the tournament goes, we'll see how Kesh, because Kesh is definitely the better spinner.
Is that the strongest South African 11 for you, or is that the team that they've picked for Canada to kick things off for the tournament?
No, I think like GS is rightly mentioning, they're covering bases. Corbin Bosch has actually grown as a player, matured as a player. He had actually a decent outing when he played against India in that series in December. He can bat, he can has seriously hit the ball, and he's a very decent fast bowler as well. Can use the short ball to good effect. Of course, that will come handy against a team like Canada. Keshav Maharaj, again, you've gone for a 4-over bowler who can actually give you a couple of wickets as well if he's bowling all right and if he bowls in the right phase of the game. You got Marco Jansen, you got Lungi Ngidi, who's a genuine wicket taker when he plays for South Africa. Plenty of wickets for Lungi Ngidi, very smart. So this is the team. I was curious whether Tristan Stubbs is actually going to play or Jason Smith, something that we were discussing off air before we went on air. But Tristan Stubbs is playing, so that is again gives them a batting depth. Him at 6, which feels like a number too low for him. He's a much better bat, but then followed by Marco Jansen and Corbin Bosch. Now this is serious batting lineup.
Yeah, there is a lot of depth, and it's a lot of batters. In fact, if you look at the South African team, it will be a team that will play together for the first time in a long time, because when you look through South Africa's run in this World Cup cycle, they played 32 games, and I think there are only 2 players who have featured in even 20 of them, and barely. The captain Markram has played 21, and I believe Brevis has played 20. Everyone else is around the 16 or fewer. So cohesiveness doesn't really, it doesn't spell out cohesiveness, but is that something that's no longer a requirement in the T20 franchise era?
I think this is where the world is heading. There are constraints, there are things that you want to do, and therefore bilateral cricket starts losing its relevance between the two ICC events. Yes, we all knew that come the World Cup, they will get their team together. This is the case with New Zealand as well, that come the World Cup, they will get their team together. Otherwise, you don't see them playing together. Some of them were actually playing in T20 leagues when New Zealand was playing against India at home. So that is the new normal for a lot of teams except India. India has this luxury of playing the best possible 11 all the time throughout the year. That's us, the luxury that we can possibly afford, and maybe another couple of countries. South Africa, I think they've gotten used to it. Even in their WTC cycle, they sent like South Africa B team to New Zealand because the cycle that they won. Because I mean, this is the thing. They need to play SA20. That is far more important for them in terms of the financials and the commercials. Test cricket, yes, it's important. They are the mace holders. But if it is clashing with their domestic T20, we all know what takes precedence.
I'm actually curious to see the same equivalent number for Australia when they play
Yeah.
that 11.
Yeah,
I don't
again,
think they would
yeah.
have played a single game.
Because Ashes is around the corner, nobody plays. It's okay.
Yeah, they're going to have a World Cup without those three seamers for the first time in what seems like a generation almost. But with South Africa making the kind of changes, I think it is 35 or close to 40 players in these 32 games, about 3.5 changes per game. Do you risk not knowing your best 11 at all coming into a World Cup?
So I think I agree with him in terms of it's very hard to achieve that. In franchise cricket, the role clarity and those things are very important because you're getting people from different cultures and everybody's playing for the first time together. Whereas here, I think a lot of people know each other, they play across formats with each other. Like you just see Quinton de Kock, right? He came out of retirement, he came in, he just kept, it felt like he never left. He started playing really well, and that actually caused more confusion for them at the top of the order and stuff. And I think injuries, another thing you can't plan. Even for India, you had Sanju. I think nobody had Ishan. Even I don't think anybody had him in the World Cup team, but he's come. It's a form thing. Like Stubbs over Ferreira. Stubbs was not part of the original squad, so obviously he's played almost continuously. He played for South Africa, but he didn't make the final squad. But then due to injuries, he's come back. So there are a lot of uncontrollables, if I can call it. So I don't think that's too much of an issue for this South African team, who kind of they have the same core. Especially the bowling department has pretty much the same core, so that's good.
I think that's one thing. If after they reach the finals and played the World Cup, if you were asked to make a team that is likely to play, all things remain equal, to play a World Cup 2 years later, you would have still gotten these 10 players out of the 11 that you have fielded today. So with so many changes, with only 2 players playing more than 20 games in the interim, you still are going in with the same setup that you would have thought in 2024 if there are no retirements, injuries are not there. This is the team that's playing. I mean, this is the team that's playing.
Yeah. And to that point, the core does remain intact. They do have 9 of the 15. One notable change, of course, because Heinrich Klaassen doesn't play T20Is anymore. But instead, at number 4, you have one of the stories, because Dewald Brevis, who's 22 but seems to have lived a mini lifetime already. That is the squad. If we look through it, Dewald Brevis, the 6 highlighted players are the new players compared to the 2024 core. That was a formidable unit, and this, as you point out, is still a very strong side.
Yeah, it is a very strong side. I mean, you took Henrik Klaassen out because he actually retired from the game. Some of them are the SA20 stars who've done really well in SA20, so obviously you will find a place eventually in the side. But since we were on the topic of Dewald Brevis, I think this could be the time. We generally say boys become men and all that. So for all that to happen, you need to have a good World Cup. So you build your reputations across T20 leagues, maybe some bilaterals. But this is the place where you announce your arrival properly. Because as on this show only 5 minutes ago, we were saying T20 cricket is, bilateral cricket is losing its relevance a bit. So you could be a global T20 superstar, but this is the moment. If you seal the deal, I mean, then you're respected a lot more.
And this boy aiming to become man at 22 has played a lot of T20 cricket. Just since the start of last year, it is upwards of 50 innings, and yes, really, he's been one of the hot batters in the global game.
So absolutely, and one of the key aspects is obviously you can see his strike rate and his 6 hitting ability, right? His ceiling is very high, Yash. So that's how I think a lot of people nowadays judge the players about. They're willing to give time to players who have high ceiling. You may not get the same amount of time for somebody else who I think there are so many numerous examples like that where all the 3-4 failures, that this player is not going to continue. With Brevis, I have all the time in the world for him because he's an amazing player. He can hit spin. I'm sure he'll learn. He still has that consistency aspect is going to always, there are going to be questions, but I will never rate him on consistency because I know if he can deliver in the big match, if he hits one match, he's like more often than not, they're going to be on the winning side. And as an opposition, you want to get likes of Russell, Pollard. I would still put him in that, not in terms of experience, but in terms of that fear factor that opposition teams have. So the moment Brevis comes in, you know they have to bring in their best fast bowler. They have to look to bounce him out, and just opposite strategies change completely because of certain players in each team, and Brevis is one such.
Yeah, and so some of those numbers on the screen point to that, because you look at a tremendous strike rate against spin. He's one of the best middle over strike rates as well. Does that become an important component, GS, of where Brevis has reached? That you will find teams who will be spooked to bowl spin.
Absolutely.
And as a result have to change their middle overs bowling plan.
Absolutely. That's how it has been with Klaasen, Pooran. Brevis is one more player. And you can see the likes of Tim David and Surya Kumar Yadav there. It's very hard unless you have quality spin. And it kind of changes the entire structure of your bowling deployment when you're as an opposition captain. Yeah. And in fact, it's not only Brevis. They actually have a really, really strong middle order there with Miller and Stubbs as well. Stubbs, don't forget, he's an amazing player of spin. Yeah. He's just been off the boil over the last 6 months to 1 year. But I remember the IPL, he was one of the players who kind of had the best record against spin and the best record at the last 4 overs.
Correct. Yeah, and what perhaps makes the Brevis story even more appreciable is that he started 3-4 years ago as an opener.
Correct.
So quickly in his life in the big stage, he's already transitioned and is seemingly excelling in a middle over destroyer role.
Yeah, it is actually, and his batting is also very uncomplicated. In a sense that the base is very strong, allows the front foot to actually move away so that the bat flow is not restricted at all. He's also got a lot of confidence in what he's capable of doing, and the confidence actually comes through when he's just constantly striking and willing to strike, and irrespective of what happened on the previous delivery. And I think that's also a factor when it comes to people who are the T20 babies, so to speak, that this is the format they've started playing when they were growing up. So there's a lot of freedom in terms of how they actually approach the game, and the fear of failure is something that holds you back quite a bit. Otherwise, the scores of 250s, 270s should happen every day in T20 cricket on flattest pitches, because you've got 20 overs to bat with 10 batters at your disposal. But it doesn't, or it didn't happen as often earlier, because all ODI cricketers used to play T20 cricket, and they were always fearful that, okay, we have time, let's not, if we have hit a 6, let's take a single. These kids, they don't care. If you have hit a 6, let's just another one. 2 6s, let's make it 3. Why not 5? Why not 6? I mean, this is the kind of approach that makes batting sometimes scary from a bowler's POV.
Yeah. Just one last point on Brevis. Just from my experience, the fact that they play in so many leagues, Aakash,
that's true.
The fact is they have so many training sessions, they work with so many coaches. I think that was not possible previously. So you have to be first part of a franchise system consistently to actually get access to these facilities and make sure that you train. So that's clearly evident in his development of playing with Mumbai and now playing in Chennai, and then he's also part of Pretoria. So you get so many different coaches. He can pick brains. You have so many range hitting sessions, which was not the case which other players don't have.
And actual game time as well, no?
Yeah.
Because if back in the day, if you're playing only international cricket, the next resource is you go and play Syed Mushtaq Ali Trophy.
Yeah.
So that is your 5 games. So I mean, you know where I'm going.
Yeah.
So this is a blessing. This is a boon that a T20 superstar are born in this generation.
And quite interestingly, actually, in an interview he's given to my colleague Firdaus Munda ahead of this World Cup, he's said how he perhaps had too many coaches in the first 3-4 years of his career, and as a result had too many opinions. And that is a fascinating interview, because it's a 22-year-old, I can't stress on it enough, who is talking about how he feels it's time to shut out the outside noise and go back to enjoying cricket like I did at 19. Such are the challenges of the modern day young cricketer. So Brevis, we'll have an eye out on him, not just tonight in Ahmedabad, but through the course of this World Cup. But in front of him is Canada. And how do Canada shape up for what is their first game of what is only their second T20 World Cup appearance? That is the 11. It is largely on expected lines, although they have included Ansh Patel, who is a left-arm wrist spinner, GS.
Yeah, I think just like I think we discussed the same thing about Ireland, the top 2. Yuvraj Samra is an exciting prospect, left-hand opening bat. Both of them strike pretty heavily. They have a good strike rates at the top. So I think they are going to be the key in terms of again winning the power play. In a ground like Ahmedabad, again setting foundation, making sure you have a good power play, it goes a long way in giving a challenge to the opposition. So with Marco Janssen and KG there with the new ball and Lungi, I think the ball will come on well, good bounce, and Yuvraj plays very strong on the leg side, and I think he's one of the players to watch out for. And Kirtan is someone we saw last World Cup as well. He has good potential, and the fast bowling is pretty much the weaker suit, I would say. You know, Kaleem Sana, the left arm quick, and
Dylan Heliger.
Yeah, Heliger is also pretty. He hits the deck hard.
Yeah.
He's pretty quick, but it's going to boil down to if the spinners can deliver. I'm hearing lots about Hush, the all-rounder. I'm hearing quite a lot about him. So it's going to be interesting, and they obviously have their senior Saad bin Zafar, who's been there for a long time. So if the spin bowling can actually do a job, which could be the only potential, I would say
Banana
weakness
peel,
of South Africa. If they have some high-quality spinners, then we're in for some exciting times.
Yeah, that will be the potential banana skin that South Africa look to avoid. Saad bin Zafar has been around a while. Ansh Patel with some mystery left arm wrist spin. So that will be Canada in their first game against South Africa. We have had two games earlier today, and we saw Italy make their Cricket World Cup debut. They went down in what was a high-scoring game. Scotland first gave us our first 200-plus total. So much talk about 300s. We finally have a 200-plus. And that was provided largely thanks to what was an excellent innings from George Munsey, who dominated the first half of that game. And then there were runs for McMullen and Leask at the death. And then Leask came back to do the damage after the Manenti brothers had a partnership that kept Italy interested at least around the 10th, 11th over mark. Aakash, first thoughts on Italy? It was a tough initiation. They lost their captain in the 5th over. Wayne Madsen dislocated his shoulder.
Chasing is always going to be a very difficult suit. That's the problem. Bowling as a unit, you can still put up a fight. Batting is something that it takes time for you to actually develop as a batter. So that is something that will be a feature, and that's where we always wonder when you win the toss and you bowl first. Is that the best way to actually approach? Yes, notwithstanding in this case because it was a morning game, but once the opposition has scored 200 plus runs, I mean, even if it's Scotland, Scotland has got some decent bowlers, and they showed what they're made of.
Yes, I think Italy pulled it back well.
Yeah.
At one stage it looked like it's going to go much beyond 207. They pulled it back to about 180, and then again the last couple of overs they conceded a lot of runs. I expected actually the Italian bowlers to be a lot more disciplined. I think they were pretty off their plans, especially in the first 10 overs to Munshi. They were not hitting the stumps. They were very wide. They gave him a lot of opportunities to hit, and we know how Munshi is very strong in the leg side, and he has some freaky shots. So I'm sure Madsen's not being there definitely affected their batting, but it's a good effort for them to come back and show what they're capable of.
Yeah, and there was a fair bit of needle in this game because Italy were the team who denied Scotland their ticket. Correct. We saw a couple of pumped up celebrations. Scotland were impressive in the game against West Indies as well.
That's true.
They had two good halves, and now they have a win.
I mean, they have a win, yes. And see, if you are an associate nation, these are the games that you need to win. You need to win and establish the fact that we belong to this place. While they might compete and they also dream of taking down a top flight test nation, but they also are realistic about the chances of it not happening that often, and you make peace with that reality and how the hands have been dealt to you. But with Scotland, such a late entry, had no idea whether they're going to be a part of this World Cup, and suddenly find themselves playing West Indies first up, where they gave a good account for themselves, and then taking on Italy. And Italy, they've put that hurdle aside. Just telling that, okay, that was a fluke loss that put us out. This is the platform that actually belongs to us within reason. We've got 20 teams and Scotland has to be one of them.
Yeah. And then we had game 2 in Colombo, where we had the first one-sided game between an associate and a full member. Zimbabwe, who are returning to the T20 World Cup after quite surprisingly not making it in 2024. Their pacers just blew away Oman's batters. It was all Muzarabani and Gaurav. Yes.
Yeah, I was surprised by the kind of pace and bounce that the when you
SSC,
offered.
yeah.
SSC, yeah.
That was pretty surprising because generally you associate Sri Lankan wickets with it being slow and difficult. I think matches in Sri Lanka have to be looked at very differently
That
from
is true.
this tournament. It clearly, I don't think it was very, even the chase, even though they finished in 13 overs, it didn't seem like super fluent batting by Zimbabwe. So I think the conditions are always going to be, there's something for the bowlers, so teams have to adapt pretty well. And I'm sure obviously Zimbabwe's experience and the kind of players they have, they had a 10-11 day camp in Sri Lanka leading up to this tournament. Clearly they were very well prepared and they have solid experience, and Raza has been pretty amazing generally, and he's not an easy bowler to pick. So I thought he bowled pretty well, and overall it's
And then the
exactly what
faster
you
bowlers,
expect.
of course.
Correct.
The
Yeah.
faster bowlers. See, SSC I think is one of those surfaces between Premadasa and SSC that gives you a bit more for the faster bowlers.
Nice.
It has a bit more grass. In fact, now they've installed the lights as well,
Yes.
where Pakistan and USA are going to play the first night game for that venue, which will happen tomorrow. But there's one thing about the associate nations that batting, it just is the case. This is how it is. That it takes time for you to develop as a batter. Because you're only allowed one mistake, and that mistake you're out, and then you come back 5 days later. And if you're not playing regularly against top flight teams, it's very difficult to actually replicate that in practice sessions. And then you get one game. Not the same with the bowlers. Bowlers, you get hammered, but you still get 24 balls to bowl, and you learn a bit more bowling to the likes of Surya Kumar Yadav or Sikandar Raza or whoever else.
Yep.
Even in a game where you failed, batter has no such thing. If you fail, your game is done. Bowlers, at least that's why I feel develop faster, and that is where associate teams they field well, they bowl well. It's just that batting is going to be an area of concern that needs development.
Right. So that is 2 points for Zimbabwe on their return to the World Cup. They are the team you'd expect are the likeliest to try and upset the apple cart in that group where Australia and Sri Lanka are the heavyweights. Right, I want to get in a prediction. South Africa batting first at Ahmedabad against Canada. Aakash.
237.
237. Okay. GS.
220.
220. So, okay, we remain well shy of 300. 260 is the highest ever total made.
What is your prediction?
At a team. Oh, you want me to give one? All right.
Of course.
260 is the highest. Okay, you know what? I'll go the other end. I'll say 198.
Okay.
That's not the other end.
No, it is the other side of 200. That is where I'm going. Yes, Aakash, thank you so much. Lovely start to the evening. Look forward to your company through the rest of it. We'll be back at half time and to pick up wherever South Africa finish at the end, what is their first innings of this Men's T20 World Cup 2026. Join us then on ESPN Cricket Info Timeout.